again. All right, joining us right now from Europe. My goodness gracious, the birthplace of golf. Our good friend Garrett Johnston, host of the Beyond the Clubhouse podcast, longtime golf writer, and he's out there in a semi-blustery, well, really always blustery St. Andrews to give us a little bit more info about the Open. How are you doing this morning?
Dave, I'm doing good, man. This is like, I always say it's like Christmas morning, man. You get the first day of the tournament. Anything can happen. Tiger's playing. It's the old course. Like, I just love when the storylines are wide open, especially, especially Thursday, Fridays, right? The longest days ever, right? Like 15, 16 straight hours of golf. And you just veg out and watch it. You know what I mean?
Forget the travel, forget everything associated with getting there, being there, the surroundings and all that. Your preference, Open at St. Andrews or Masters at Augusta?
Oof. I think just because I'm like a history nut, I think I lean a little bit towards St. Andrews. But the cool thing they both have, like if golf fans make it out here from Sacramento or wherever in Northern California, there's something about the community and like everyone's the same. Like everyone's at the same status. Like I'm driving my car down the main street of St. Andrews. There's a famous pub, and Mike Tirico's in there, the San Vegan Hotel, having a drink with the local Scots, right? He's just mingling. He's one of the guys, right? Paul Casey's walking down the street, putting his arms around strangers, hanging out, high-fiving. You see what I'm saying? Like there's everyone's kind of on the same level. You get some of that at Augusta too, because it's Jerry Rice walking the fairways with Carmichael Dave or Garrett Johnston, it doesn't matter. He doesn't get a preferential seat at Augusta National. So I go with history with St. Andrews, but I just love how accessible it is for everybody. People are walking their dogs on this course. On Sunday, I was out there. Everyone's walking over the bridge. Everyone's bringing their kids over this Swilken Bridge that Tom Watson's crossed, 5 times, winning 5 majors or 5 Eclair Jugs. So it's a lot of fun.
As we talked to Garrett Johnston live from St. Andrews. Already some great storylines. Top of the leaderboard, Cam Young shooting a 64 in the clubhouse. Rory McIlroy and the other Cameron Smith right behind him. Barkley Brown, the amateur, at 4 under. But the one thing you got to cover, including the world number 1, 3 under through 8, Tiger Woods, man, a disastrous double bogey, had a great tee shot, gets in the hazard, gets out and almost hold the sucker, then misses the putt, adds another bogey on 3. Are we looking at Tiger? Is Tiger's championship this year making the cut, Garrett?
Oh, man, I hate to say it, but, the start is bad. But, honestly, I think he's going to hang around. Like, the conditions are so dry and fast. They call it a racetrack out here. I was just talking to Xander Schauffele, and he said there's a cart path on 18, Dave. Excuse me. There's a cart path is 150 yards out from the 18th green. He said you could take a putter right now and easily putt that all 150 yards, no problem. That's how fast it's running out here. Tiger Woods was chipping with 4 irons earlier this week on that 18th fairway, trying to get, snug it close, hit these little frozen rope grounders. It's crazy. So he won in conditions real similar to this in 06. Remember when he beat Sergio in that final group in the British Open there at Liverpool? So he knows how to win when it gets really dry and crusty as it's getting here. And he's won twice at St. Andrews. I know that was a different Tiger. I get that. But this is that one type of golf, right, where it doesn't matter about distance. If DJ's blowing it by everybody, or if Rory's blowing it by everybody, it really doesn't matter, because when it gets this baked out, everyone's kind of in the same spots.
There's always a guy or a couple of guys that no one's talking about before, but when you have a huge tournament like this and a legendary course like this, their game, the style, the course, they all mold together and they end up having a fantastic performance. And I'm looking at what's probably, I'm sure, a little bit of an exception, a little bit of a coincidence here after one, but to look up and see Ernie Els tied in the top 20, tied for 19th, putting a 70 in there, guys like Ernie Els, I wonder in your mind who fits that group, whether young or old, whose games really, really mesh with St. Andrews.
Yeah, I think honestly it's somebody like a Stuart Sink, right? Like remember he broke everybody's heart when he beat Tom Watson in 09. Yeah. And he's really trended well going into Open Championships. I've spoken with him many times about, okay, what are your favorite links courses? What are your favorite links holes? And he lists like 4 of his favorite all-time links holes are on St. Andrews, right?
Wow.
So you have a guy who's 49. I know he's aging. He's almost on the Champions Tour, right? But he loves this place. Right? So he's played links golf for so long, and he's succeeded at it. You know what I mean? So he's the kind of guy where the recipe can step up. Another guy, Padraig Harrington, I spoke with him, what was it, Wednesday, when he was walking to the driving range, and I said, listen, like, you told me you wouldn't be bothered to finish 2nd or 5th at the Masters. You're not there to finish 2nd. He's like, yeah, I have no interest this week in finishing 2nd. Right, the guy's 51. Wow. He just won the U.S. Senior Open, right? Okay. So he's a guy, 2-time champion in the British Open. Those 2 guys, Harrington and Sink, I still think they've got game enough, especially when it's hard and fast, of course, like this. That's what you got with Tom Watson when he made that run at 59, remember? At Turnberry in 09. If the conditions are right like this and they play fast, the older guys, meaning the guys in their 50s and 40s, still have a chance.
That Tom Watson run was just one of the most magical things I've ever seen in golf. And unlike Hollywood, we didn't get the Hollywood ending. It was still a blast. We talked to Garrett Johnston live from St. Andrews. So there's another storyline under the radar here right now, at least, but really not under the radar in any other fashion. And that's the golfers over on the LIV Tour. And you see them come together. This is now the 2nd time at a major since all this started. How big to you is the storyline on Sunday if you've got one or more of those golfers in the final pairing? Is that something that St. Andrews is bigger than, or is that something that you think is going to engulf the golf world?
Wow. I think that St. Andrews is huge, but it's not bigger than what's happening right now. And then the seismic shift in how golf is played and the guaranteed money that these guys are getting. It's interesting though, like some big time players like Tiger Woods, right? He made a comment about, hey, the LIV players, they turned their back on what got them here, right? I was speaking with Lee Westwood and some other members of the media just about an hour ago, and Lee said, listen, like he's got a vested interest when he makes those comments. Like he's 100% behind the PGA Tour. It's in his best interest, right? That the PGA Tour does better. So he says he respects Tiger as a golfer, but those comments, he has no interest in respecting those comments. So, there's a little animosity, whether it was Westwood coming in and being asked about it. There's a lot of reporters. I'll tell you that, Dave. There's a ton of reporters pressing Westwood today, pressing Poulter. Poulter got booed on the first tee. Wow. And, he gets a little funky, a little headstrong. And he said, oh, I got booed. I didn't hear it. Didn't happen. He's that kind of guy where he just kind of writes out, I didn't hear it, so therefore it didn't happen. We said, oh, there was video of it. He's like, well, it must have been 200 yards away, but it didn't. You know what I mean? Like he is very, very tricky and manipulative sometimes when he wants things a certain way. So it got a little heated in the press area, I should say, in the media scrum area. So yeah, it's a serious undertone this week. And I know St. Andrews is massive, the history here, but you're right. If there's somebody in the final group, if it's Westwood, I mean, you can't overcome the fact that what are you going to do? Not invite him back next year if he wins?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, Greg Norman not being invited to the big dinner, that was a huge thing. A lot of people saw that as a bit of a lack of class. And yeah, now you have something that really in golf, we've never dealt with that. I mean, in the Olympics, maybe you've got nations rooting for, you've got the patriotism involved and all that. That's fine. But you've never had this sort of tour versus tour animosity and rivalry there. Obviously, having something like, the perfect thing would be something like Rory McIlroy and Phil Mickelson, which won't happen. But in the final group, but you mentioned one name I was going to ask you about next, Lee Westwood. That leads me to my final question for you, Garrett. Other than Tiger and lefty and whatever, depending on your perspective, as far as the most fun, who would be the most fun in your mind? Winner like a Lee Westwood, it would be absolutely amazing. Who's the one, if you could pick anyone, that you'd have the biggest smile on your face come Sunday?
Big time. Well, here in St. Andrews, the famous place I was telling you about, the Dunvegan Hotel, is the biggest pub. Everyone knows it. All the big names, the players, Mike Tirico, everybody walks through there every time. And the thought process on Sunday night, everyone was talking in there saying, who would be the most popular person in there after their win to run into that pub? Shane Lowry, of course, throws him back with the best of them, right? Everybody loves Shane. But I'll tell you this right now, Billy Horschel, I spoke with him a couple weeks ago, and I said, "What is the deal with St. Andrews?" And obviously, you seem like you embrace, as an American, you embrace the old town, right? And he said he just loves when the local Scots take care of his dad. Like basically, his dad, the 65-year-old guy, long ass beard. And he would go in 2015 in their first U.S. British Open. He would go into this Dunvegan Hotel, his pub, and he met like 20 locals. And by the time Billy Horschel finally made it in on Saturday, he's like, "Dude, these guys are taking care of you. These are your boys. This is awesome." So there's it's hilarious. There's a huge popularity with Billy Horschel among the Scottish people here. And it's, of course, in the States, he's a popular guy. He gets fired up, you know what I mean? And that's a quality that in this sport, it's hard. We don't see that often. There's a lot of vanilla golfers, right? People are just kind of low key, kind of Chris Kirk, like just nothing. And I think if he wins a major on this stage, I think the Billy Horschel would be the one that would put the biggest smile on my face, I think.
That's why we love Garrett. Of all that, I could have picked half the field. I wouldn't have gotten to Billy Horschel. That is a fantastic take, Garrett. We appreciate that. Look forward to checking with you a bit later, as well as you're out there at the Open, at all the majors, all over the place, covering golf. And we're lucky enough to be able to talk to Garrett during these events. You can check him out on the Beyond the Clubhouse podcast. Check out his writing as well, as he brings you everything live from St. Andrews. Appreciate you, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, buddy. Good talk.
All right, take care. Want to remind you, Sactown Sports